we had a science conference many years back, wherein the minister made a speech. He spoke about Vimanas. And what happened? There are Nobel laureates sitting in the science congress. They walked out of his speech. The so-called legendary historian. She even went to the extent of saying that the character of Yudhishthira was inspired by Ashoka. The perception people have of Abhimanyu is poor fellow, young fellow, he went, got trapped in the Chakravyuha and died. Who almost defeated the Kauravas on that day. So in the end, they cheated him and killed him. So if that hadn't happened, probably he may have even killed a couple of the major Kaurava armies.
Namaste Bhakto, welcome to Bhakt Charitra, a Bhakts.com podcast where we bring forth voices that believe in Hindutva and Bharat. These are not just people who speak, but these are people who act. These are not merely influencers, but everyday dharmic individuals. They are building temples, shaping lives, and preserving traditions. Today's guest is someone whose life and values has truly inspired. So I connected through Deepak ji through Twitter when I was searching some good writers on dharmic work, what they have done. So I saw that Deepak ji has written a lot of books, and his most focus was on Mahabharata. So let's welcome Deepak ji. Deepak ji, welcome to our podcast.
Namaste, Himanshu.
Namaste. So, first of all, we would like to start with you. Please introduce yourself. Where are you? What you do professionally?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. So it was really nice that you and Bhakts.com, you approached me, you promoted my works on Twitter, and now you have invited me to the podcast. So thank you very much. And at the outset, I want to wish your enterprise great success so that you can spread the message of Dharma throughout the country. So now about myself, I am an author. So I have a very varied work experience of over 25 years. So professionally, I've been a consultant, I've been an auditor, I worked in training. I've also worked at a university as a controller of examinations. So presently, I'm into training and writing. So I do professional writing. I'm also a trainer and offer training on life skills and related areas. So I'm an author who started writing accidentally. So I'll talk about that a bit later. So right now I have 10 published books. So these books have been published by leading publishers like Rupa Publications, Bloomsbury, Subbu Books, and there are also books that I have self-published on Amazon. So like you said, most of my books are based on the Mahabharata. So there of my 10 books, 9 are based on the Mahabharata. One of them is on a version of the Ramayana that comes from the Mahabharata. The only other book that I've written is a biography of Lata Mangeshkar, of whom I was a very big fan. So when she passed away, I thought as a writer, the only tribute I can give is to write a book on her. So, so this is about the books that I have written. So I have many more books coming up. So all these are related to Dharma and the Mahabharata. So this is a very brief introduction about myself.
So, if you can tell us a little bit about your background, like where do you live, and how I mean this Mahabharata inculcated you. I'm sure your family background, your parents, grandparents, they would also be into dharma, which inspired you. So, a little bit about your family.
Yeah, I'm from Bangalore. So I am here from Bangalore since birth. So I stay with my family, my parents, my wife, and my daughter. So, like you said, my starting influence has been my mother. So, my parents, the one good thing which they gave me a great gift was the gift of reading. So, I started reading from the days of Amar Chitrakatha. So, I must express my gratitude to Uncle Pai, Anant Pai, who was a legend who should have got the Bharat Ratna, but unfortunately, that hasn't happened. So, I had the opportunity to meet him also a couple of times. So, I grew up on Amar Chitrakatha, as you know, which focused on our dharma, our scriptures, stories from the past. So that's how I got interested in this. Then professionally, I moved on to different areas. I worked in consulting, training, teaching, and so on. Then accidentally, I got into writing. So this happened during the COVID time. So where we used to spend a lot of time online. So that's where I came across a fellow author called as Sai Swarupa Iyer. So she had written a Twitter threads on Mahabharata war. So that really intrigued me, that there was so much information about the war that I didn't know. See, my exposure to Mahabharata, like most people, is based on what we have seen on VR Chopra's serial, and of course today's generation would be based on the Star Plus serial and other shows, and of course through Amar Chitrakatha and few other books. But when I read about how the war actually took place, it was very surprising, because if you remember in the TV show, what we see in the war, we see arrows coming and there's welding and fireworks going on. So that was what we knew about the war. But the real war was completely different. It was quite brutal, quite lengthy. So many things happened, and none of the books or shows really depicted the war well. So that got me to think that there is so much that I don't know. So then I realized that to read the Mahabharata, it is not enough to read the novels or comic books, but we have to read the original, so the unabridged text. So that's how I got interested into Mahabharata and started reading the text.
So as I understand, ki you have written extensively, like out 9 out of 10
Yeah.
books are on Mahabharata. So you must have done some kind of research, some kind of previous text from like Ved Vyas Mahabharata and all.
Yes.
What was your main research?
Yeah. So my main study was on the original Mahabharata of Vyasa. So what we have seen is many retellings and fiction. So I wanted to go to the source. So in the source there are some popular versions, like you have the version by Kesari Mohan Ganguli, which is also called as the Bengali version.
Hmm.
So then, in this way, there are many. For example, Gita Press has got a version of the Mahabharata. There is something called as the Southern edition, Kumbakonam edition, so many editions.
Hmm.
So what happened? The Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute, or BORI, they studied all these various versions, which was available in the form of scripts and various inscriptions and so on. So a team led by Dr. Suptankar, they did a study for more than 60 years, and they came out with the critical edition of the Mahabharata. So I realized that that is what I must study. So I've extensively gone through the critical edition and the English translation by the late Dr. Bibek Debra. So that is my main source, and apart from that, other different versions too. Same way, I also studied the Ramayana. That also the critical edition by the Baroda uh, Institute and translation by Dr. Vivek Debra. So though that is the research I have done,
Hmm.
and what I would like to say is I do not consider myself uh, well read or an expert. I'm just a student, because whenever you read the Mahabharata, you will find that there is something new you will understand. There is something new which you can analyze from it. So it is an amazing text. It's a vast text. It's like an ocean. There is no end to it. In fact, it is said that if there is anything in the world, you will find it in the Mahabharata.
Yes,
If it's not in the Mahabharata, it is not there in the world.
yes, exactly.
So it has been a blessing for me to go through the Mahabharata, and then I got inspired to start writing. So again, I must credit Srimati Sai Swarupaji. She came out with an anthology of stories. That was again during the COVID time, wherein she wanted stories from the war, featuring on minor characters, because we all know about Arjuna, Duryodhana, Bhima, Karna. So she said that whoever is interested, take up minor characters and write about them. So I choose the character Bhagadatta, who was the son of Naraka. He was the king of Pragjyotisha. So I wrote a story about him and it got published. So that was my first venture into writing. Same time, I started writing on Abhimanyu.
Hmm.
And again, thanks to Sai Swarupaji's help, it became a published book. So that's how my author journey started.
So what was title of your first book?
Yeah, my first published book was Abhimanyu the Warrior Prince. It was published by Bloomsbury.
Hmm.
So parallelly, I worked on this book called as Unsung Valor. So that was a collection of 10 stories by 10 different authors
Hmm.
on 10 incidents that happened during the war. That was curated by Sai Swarupaya.
Hmm.
So I wrote a story on Bhagavad.
So, what unique or different thing you found about Abhimanyu when you wrote this book, or I can say, ki, what is there in this book special about Abhimanyu which people don't know, maybe?
Yeah, so like I said, I started reading the original, the unabridged text, and that's when I found something that was very surprising. Because generally, the perception people have of Abhimanyu is poor fellow, young fellow. He went, got trapped in the Chakravyuha and died. But as I was reading, I found that Bhishma is talking about all the Pandavas to Duryodhana and others. So he says that Abhimanyu is two times as stronger as Arjuna and Krishna. So that was something which really surprised me. So I mean, Krishna and Arjuna are the ultimate.
Yes.
So when Bhishma is saying Abhimanyu is twice as powerful as them, so there must be something about him.
Hmm.
So that's when I started studying about him. So I went through his story, his play role in the war, and I decided to write this book. So this is a retelling. So what I've done is I've taken the original story and I have added some fictional elements to it to make it more presentable. But the basic story is the same. And what comes out is the story of a very great warrior who almost defeated the Kauravas on that day. So in the end, they cheated him and killed him. So if that hadn't happened, probably he may have even killed a couple of the major Kaurava warriors. So it is a really great story, and it's a very important story because until that day, Arjuna was fighting very in a lackluster way because he always had a feeling that I don't want to kill Bhishma and Drona. They are my gurus. They are my relatives. So why should I kill them? So that was his attitude. So he did not give himself 100% into the war, even though Krishna gave him the Bhagavad Gita Sara. But when his son was killed in such a brutal way, he couldn't control himself. So he exploded, and the next day, he single handedly destroyed 7 out of the 11 Akshauhinis or battalions of the Kauravas. So the war got effectively over on the 14th day because of what happened to Abhimanyu and Arjuna's revenge. So it was a very important incident in the war, so which is why I spent time writing this book.
Great, great. So, I mean, as you have said, that is true. Like Mahabharata is one of the biggest epic, and obviously it is at the end of the Dwapar Yuga, and Mahabharata is gist of the whole Dwapar Yuga, which, as per our Vedic literatures, should be somewhere around 8 lakh years long. So there has to be a lot of stories. People, like many people say ki, there is a central point, Indraprasth, and Hastinapur, and then the whole world is connected with Mahabharata. Like your present times, Afghanistan, Gandhari came. They have a complete, totally different story. Then Jarasandh, Matsya, everywhere. I mean, lot of Shalle, who is Mama of Kaurav and Pandavas. So, what other characters you picked in your other books, and which are really interesting to know?
Yeah, so after I wrote this book, so I wrote a collection of short stories which was based on the Mahabharata. So there I covered incidents like Draupadi Vastraharana. Then I covered the Ashwatthama's killing of the sons of the Pandavas.
Hmm.
So I focused on the 5 sons of the Pandavas in story. And another interesting story is the story of Sahadeva, who fights a war with Mahishmati. So at the time, Mahishmati had become very popular thanks to Bahubali.
Yeah.
So there is this very interesting story which not many people know because what happens, Nakula and Sahadeva already always get ignored.
Yeah.
They are like okay, they are also there. These three are important. They are like side characters, but they were also equally wise, equally strong, and there are many interesting stories. So I wrote about that how Sahadeva took on none other than Agni himself, who was the protector of Mahishmati. So these were some stories that I wrote, and also about Dhritarashtra's final moments and things like that. So that was a collection of short stories that I wrote. And then after that, I got a chance to contribute to another anthology, which is called as Arya, which was brought out by Indic Academy.
Yeah.
So here they wanted to write about women from the Vedic period,
Okay.
and I chose the character Satyavati. So who is again a character who is not talked about much. In fact, in most of the versions of the Mahabharata, she's just portrayed as a minor character. She just marries Shantanu, Bhishma takes the oath, and then after that, not much is known about her. and there is a feeling that she's a negative character, very selfish, greedy.
mm,
She did everything for you know so that her sons could be the king.
mm,
So what was the real picture I wanted to present? So I wrote a story about Satyavati. So I called it the Satyavati, the Iron Lady of India. So in fact, it's a surprising thing that she was the first female ruler of India. That is something nobody knows. If you go to Google and search who was the first female ruler of India, it will tell you Razia Sultana, so which is nothing but mere stupidity, because Razia Sultana came so many years later.
yeah,
Before that itself, there were so many queens. Even in history, recorded history, in the book Rajatarangini, we have account of Queen Didda of Kashmir. So her account is there. And prior to that, we have Satyavati, who sat on the throne of Hastinapura, which was the greatest empire in the world. So she ruled with Bhishma's help,
mm,
and she was the first woman to sit on a throne. So I wrote about her. And then what I did, the Vyasa Mahabharata,
mm,
I wanted to present it in a summarized way, because if anyone wants to know the actual story, they have to read the unabridged version. Now the unabridged version is 5,000 pages. So today's generation, they don't have patience to read the 5,000 pages.
mm.
So they don't have patience to even read their lessons. They want Instagram reels and YouTube shorts. So I wanted to make a summarized version of the Mahabharata. So I wrote a book called The Original Vyasa Mahabharata. So that is a summary of the original book. In short, it presents each of the 18 parvas of the Mahabharata.
Okay.
And then at the time of the Ram Mandir Pratishtapana, I wanted to write something about Sri Ramchandra.
Mm.
And I found a version of the Ramayana in the Mahabharata.
Okay.
There are actually two versions.
Mm.
One is Hanuman tells Rama's story to Bhima. So we know about the famous Hanuman and Bhima meeting.
Mm.
That is one version.
Yes.
And the other version is by sage Markandeya.
Okay.
So when he comes, what has happened? Draupadi has been kidnapped by Jayadratha.
Mm.
Then Arjuna and Bhima go and save her and bring her back, and so many things happen. So they are all very depressed. So that's when Markandeya comes there, and Yudhishthira says, "Why is all this happening to me? Why am I suffering so much? Why is poor Draupadi being subjected to such humiliation?"
Mm.
And he tells, "Before you, even Sri Ramchandra of Ayodhya also faced all this, as did Sita Mata." And he tells the story of Rama. And there are some very significant differences from the Ramayana of Valmiki. So I wrote a book about that. So that was another work. And recently I have written a book, a collection of short stories of 56 stories based on curses and boons in the Mahabharata and Ramayana.
Okay.
So we all know that there are a lot of shapas and boons
Mm.
given. Like for example, the curse was given to Duryodhana
Mm.
by a sage saying that Bhima will break your thigh.
Mm.
Then Durvasa gave a boon to Kunti. Because of that, she could call the gods and she got children from them.
Mm.
So like that, there are hundreds of stories of boons and curses. I picked up 56 stories and wrote a book on that. It's called as the Illustrated Book of Mythology. So that was published by Rupa Publications. That was my latest publications. So this is in brief about the books I've written, the different characters, different events, different incidents.
So tell me something about this curse thing which you have mentioned. You have
Yeah.
written 56 stories on curses. So why these topic as curse? I mean, does it have some scientific background, or does it has some cultural impact on people? So why curses?
Yeah, because it is there from years together. If you go to any of our epics, you will see curses being delivered to people who have done something wrong
Hmm.
as a punishment. And even now, today, you see that when people get angry, they curse someone. And there is a fear that if someone curses me, my life will be ruined. Now, whether it happens or not today, we don't know. Because in those times, it used to happen. Why would it happen? Because they had the spiritual power.
Hmm.
So they had done a lot of dharmic deeds and they had acquired spiritual power.
Hmm.
So that power allowed them to make their words come true. So if they said it negatively, it would become a curse, a shapa. It would become a vara if they gave a positive word as a boon. So not only the gods, even ordinary people who had done dharmic deeds, they had the spiritual power to curse others or give boons. So that power is there, and we have many stories of that over the years. So I picked up both the Mahabharata and Ramayana,
Mhm.
and I have presented 56 stories, 36 curses, and 24 boons that come.
Okay.
Reason why I pick these stories is because they play a very important role on the story itself. For example,
Hmm.
there is a similarity between Dasharatha and Pandu. So both of them go hunting. Now Pandu goes hunting. He kills a deer, but the deer is actually a sage.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the sage curses him, saying that if you go to your wife, you will die.
Hmm.
So Pandu thus cannot have children, and then Kunti has to call the gods, and so many things happen.
Hmm.
The same way Dasharatha, he goes hunting, and he kills. He thinks he's killing an animal, but he has killed a poor young man called Shravana Kumar.
Hmm.
So his old parents who are blind, they curse Dasharatha. They say that you will also face the same pathetic situation as we did. So that leads to uh, what are, events happen when Kaikeyi demands the boon she got. So here again we have boon. So Dasharatha, in his excitement that Kaikeyi saved me, he says, "I'll give you boon. You ask whatever you want." Now she very cleverly she says, "I will postpone it. I'll ask it at a later stage."
Hmm.
And then when the iron is hot, she strikes. She says, "Throw out Rama and make my son the king." Now Dasharatha is helpless. He has given the boon, so he has to abide by it. So he has to send his son away, and then he suffers without his son, and he dies. So you see, both in the story of Pandu and Dasharatha, the common thing is hunting,
Hmm.
and Krishna tells it in the Mahabharata. He says it is one of the vice, the evil. He lists out both hunting and gambling. So there is a famous story is that it was Krishna who gave Draupadi her vastra during the Vastraharana episode.
Hmm.
But in the Mahabharata, it says that it was Dharma who gave her robes. So Dharma could be anything, of course. As we say, Vishwamidam Vishnumayam. So Krishna himself is Dharma,
Hmm.
but the Dharma or the good deeds that Draupadi did, that the Pandavas did, that is what saved Draupadi. Krishna tells later that I was not there at that time. I did not know about this gambling incident because at that time Shalva attacks Dwarka and Krishna is busy fighting a war.
Hmm.
So he says, I did not know if it happened. If it had happened, I would have come there and stopped the dice game
Hmm.
because he says gambling is an evil. And along with the other evils, he also lists out hunting. He says hunting is an evil if you kill it for pleasure. And Pandu and Dasharatha did it and they got punished for it. So, like this, there are so many other such incidents about curses, boons, and these play a very important role on our Itihasa because, as you know, we believe that Mahabharata and Ramayana is our Itihasa.
Yes.
So, Itihasa, it happened.
Yeah.
It happened and it had a role on our future, our existence, our life. So, these are stories that we must know, especially younger people. So, that's the objective of my writing
Hmm.
because there are so many books already written.
Yes.
My writing, I want to reach out to younger people because they are the future. So they must not forget these stories. They must remember them. They must pass them on to the next generation. So it's very important. So I try to write in a style that they like because they don't want lengthy introductions, lot of philosophy, lot of dialogue. They want short stories, brief to the point,
Exactly.
and they want it to be interesting. Short sentences, short paragraphs,
Yes.
quick quick read. So that is my style of writing.
And logical as
So
well. Logical.
yeah, that is very
Yeah.
important. That's very important. I mean, you shouldn't just say, "Oh, it was a story that happened in the past. Magic happened."
Hmm.
You must try and explain what it means. What is a curse? Why does it matter? And most importantly, I believe that as a writer, we must try and tell why these stories are relevant. They are not just like Panchatantra Jataka tells some stories of animals and people. They are very important and they are relevant even today. Because whatever has happened then, it's happening today also. You can see. If you look at the wars that happen, why does it happen? It happens because of one man's ego, because it happens because of jealousy. All these things we have seen that happened in the past. How, a woman was targeted. And because of that, the evil people who targeted her got punished. So we see all these things happening even today. So that's why we need to read those stories and know them so that we do not commit the same mistakes.
Exactly. Also, there is one big thing in Mahabharata is that Mahabharata is one of the most technologically advanced time,
Yes.
and there are two major inferences come. One is from Ramayana that these flying
Yes.
vehicles like Pushpak Viman, But in Mahabharata, there are a lot of things. Like I have read Mr. Christopher C. Doyle. He has written extensively on these technologically advanced techniques from Mahabharata. And also, there used to be say that there were seven precious, knowledges which King Ashok kept. So, have you focused somewhere on technology as well from Mahabharata?
Yeah, see, technology comes in the war itself.
Hmm.
Okay, like I said, the perception we have war is of welding happening on the air, which is a very poor way of portraying the war. So if you look at the weapons that were used, there were so many astras. So there were shastras and astras.
Hmm.
Shastras is the normal weapons, the swords, the arrows, spears, and so on. Now astras are divine weapons that can have some significant impact. Now most people they just say it is magic, but that is technology. So, for example, if you talk about Agneastra, it creates fire.
Hmm.
So, how could someone create fire? Obviously, there was a technology which allowed them to create that fire. And once a weapon created fire, another side they could put down the fire by using the Varunastra.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, there is uh, there is a weapon called as Sammohanastra,
Hmm.
which makes people fall unconscious.
Hmm.
So, how could people fall unconscious? Obviously, the arrow had some chemical which released a gas, and people would die. And the antidote is also mentioned. So, in one of the incidents, Drona uses the Pragnastra to wake them up. So, there is an antidote for that also. So, everything is mentioned. So, which is not just some stories of magic, but these are stories wherein some kind of technology was used. Like for instance,
Hmm.
there is a story of the flying city of Hiranyapura. Not many people know about it. It comes in when Arjuna goes to Indraloka.
Hmm. Hmm.
There is a city called Hiranyapura. The city itself can fly.
Hmm.
So obviously there was a technology which was used in that. So in one of my forthcoming books, I've tried to explore that how it could have been done. Like we have the Pushpaka Vimana. Now, what most people don't know is the Pushpaka Vimana was not a small chariot, but it was like a palace. So, if we read the descriptions in Valmiki Ramayana, when Hanuman enters, he sees that Ravana is staying inside the Pushpaka Vimana. It is a huge palace. It is almost like a city, not just a small,
Okay.
chariot.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, obviously, again here there is technology. Then we hear about the Brahmastra and its power. Now, in the Mahabharata, there is mention of the Brahma Shirastra
Hmm.
at the end.
Hmm.
Now, it is said, Vyasa says that if you use this weapon for decades together, there won't be any crops that grow on the land. So, the land will get devastated. So, we see that kind of descriptions when nuclear war happens. So, everything gets destroyed. There is radiation which destroys the land. So, you cannot grow crops, people die. So that kind of a weapon was there during that time. So which means there was technology and this technology was being used. So we don't know now what the technology is, how it was used, but it was there.
So, is it there in any of your books about these technologies? If you can tell us, ki, people can read that book for understanding technology.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't talk directly about technology. It just explains like how these weapons could have worked.
Okay.
So in all of my books, I have made references to it
Okay.
of
So,
the weapons which are used,
mhm.
how they could have worked. I mean, they're not just mere magic, but they are something which use some kind of technology. So, like I said, in one of my forthcoming book on Arjuna, which is yet to be published,
Mhm.
so there I've tried to explain how a city could have flown. How is it that a city which is a big land mass, how can it fly in the air? I mean, there would be some core, some power which would have made the city move. There would be some way to steer or move the city. So that I've tried to explain in that book. So when that book comes out, readers can go through.
So I think if you are writing so much about Mahabharata, I think you must have also encountered a few people who come back here. "Arey, you always talk about your history and you were so much great, so much technologically advanced. Why not today? Why there is no such technology now? It's all fictional, superficial." So how do you encounter these kind of questions, narratives?
See, most of the knowledge, technology comes from knowledge.
Hmm.
And the knowledge was lost after the Kaliyug. Because Kaliyuga was the age of evil.
Hmm.
Which is why Krishna wanted to do a cleansing. He knew that Kaliyuga is coming up and evil is going to spread across the world. So as it is, there was so much evil. So he wanted to do Bhumi Baraharana, which was the objective of Mahabharata. So the war had to happen so that the Bara and Bhumi Devi's head had to be removed. It had to be lessened. So that was done through the war, wherein lakhs of people died. Of course, whenever there is a war, it is not only the evil who die, even innocent people, good people die. We see that even now. There is a war, so many innocent people died. So that happened during that time also. Even people who had not committed a sin, who were good people, like for example, the Pandavas lost everyone.
Hmm.
So they were supposed to be the side of Dharma, but in the end, they didn't have anyone with them, no sons, and even their heir Parikshit was dead. Krishna had to use his powers for the first time
Hmm.
to revive, because in the end, Krishna's son Pradyumna is killed in front of him.
Hmm.
So the Yadavas, they beat him using the vessels that they used to drink. They beat Pradyumna to death in front of Krishna.
Hmm.
And he doesn't do anything. He just stands and watches. Because he knows it is destined. He does not want to change destiny. But when it came to Parikshit being killed, he decided to interfere. He said, I am going to change destiny. He challenges Ashwatthama. He says, you wanted to end the Pandavas' race, but I will revive it. So he uses his powers for the first time and revives the dead Parikshit, because it was needed. It was needed because the race, Pandava's race, the race of Kuru had to continue during the Kaliyug. It had to happen. So the arrogance of people, the evil, led to knowledge being lost, which is why we don't have many of these technologies. There has been some work, some people have tried to write some books, they have tried to explore. And what is important is that scientists should try to study, but it's very unfortunate that scientists, they just dismiss it. They say, oh, it is all fake. Anything which comes in the scriptures, it is fake. These are all just cock and bull stories. Who will believe them? They are actually, what is science? Science is inquiry.
Hmm.
You have to have an open mind and try to investigate. But they have, unfortunately, many of them, I'm not saying all, because many scientists are dharmic people. So you will, if you see, for example, ISRO, you will see almost all of them are dharmic people. You will see them in Tirupati whenever before a launch. So that makes many people burn in anger.
Hmm.
That why are they going to Tirupati? Because they believe in dharma. They believe in our spirituality. They believe in God. Now, unfortunately, many scientists, they just object to it. For example, we had a science conference
Hmm.
many years back, wherein the minister made a speech. He spoke about Vimanas.
Hmm.
He said that you have to study this. And what happened? There were Nobel laureates sitting in the science congress. They walked out of his speech.
Okay.
They have that kind of a mentality that anything that comes to our scriptures, our Itihasa, that is all fraud. So they have their own standards and they want everything as per that standard. If it doesn't fit within that, they say it is fake. They are not ready to re examine their standard. For example, they have not even been able to prove how the world originated. They say Big Bang occurred.
Hmm.
And they said we are going to do an experiment in CERN Institute. They did something called as Large Hadron Collider.
Yes.
They said we will simulate the Big Bang, but they could not do it. Nothing happened in that. There was a fear at one time that if they simulate it, it will once again end the world because they are going to create antimatter.
Hmm.
But nothing happened. See, they don't know how the world originated. They don't know how life originated. They come out with all sorts of theories. They say spontaneous generation. That means just like that life originated. Now, their science, they say just like that it happened. So they themselves don't know so much. So what it means, they have to study more. They have to be open minded. So unfortunately, many people, they don't do that. They just try to dismiss our past, saying that that's all magic, stories of magic. So that is something which we must change. We must
See,
look at all these
yeah.
things.
See, when we talk about Ramayana and Mahabharata, the major conflict comes with Western science or modern science
Yes,
is timeline.
yes,
So,
yes,
that is where the biggest thing hurdle comes. Ki Yuval Noah Harari, who is the most read author on human history, Homo sapiens and Homo deus, he says that agriculture started 10,000 years back, and the world accepts it. We say that 7,000 years back, Ramayana Mahabharata happened, and there was hell lot of things. Ramayana was even previous. So, what is your view on this timeline? Do you follow this Vedic timeline? Do you accept this Vedic timeline, or there is something midway? There, because there is a huge gap, and that also causes an issue. Ki if scientists are saying that humans developed just 10,000 or 15,000 years back, they understood to learn agriculture just 10,000 years back, then how can you say that Ramayana happened 8 lakh years back in Treta Yuga? And how can you say that one yuga spans for 2 lakh years or 6 lakh years? And then, Ramayana is so much old, Mahabharata is so much old. So, what is your view on this timeline?
See, this again comes to what they say. It is like if we say that is the truth, everyone else is a liar. So unfortunately, that's how it has become.
Hmm.
For example, our history.
Hmm.
What we say is history. So the history which we read and grew up,
Hmm.
and which is still being read in many places, is that everything revolves around the Mughal Empire and the British Empire. Nothing else is important. Nothing else is given credence. And even history tends to dismiss Mahabharata and Ramayana that it never happened. It is these are all just stories. So-called legendary historian, she even went to the extent of saying that the character of Yudhishthira was inspired by Ashoka.
Okay.
So Romila Thapar, so she said in a meeting that whoever wrote the Mahabharata, so her look at her objective. Her objective is to say that Mahabharata was written after Ashoka's time.
Okay.
So the character of Yudhishthira was based on Ashoka. So that is the kind of approach.
Hmm.
They want to distort the past, and they want every evidence to be as per their requirements.
Hmm.
So they are not ready to broaden their view. Same thing is with science. They come out with one timeline, with one theory, and they want people to strictly adhere to that. For example, we have Darwin's Origin of Species, which says that evolution happened over billion years.
Hmm.
Now, there is no concrete, definite proof of that, but yet it has become the accepted norm.
Hmm.
So they just say that this is how it happened, and we are supposed to believe. We are supposed to believe that a fish one day suddenly came out of water, it grew a tail, it became into a some other kind of animal. That animal again morphed. So these are theories which have come up and which we believe. Like I said, even if we look at Big Bang theory or how the first cell originated, it actually, if you look at it, it doesn't look logical, but yet it is written in our textbook, so we are supposed to blindly believe it. And they unfortunately do not accept the timelines which of the Vedic period. They just dismiss it. But there is work which is going on. For example, in Sinoli, in near Haryana, there has been excavation wherein they found a chariot,
Hmm.
iron chariot dated to the Mahabharata period.
Hmm.
So at that time, these people says iron was not there only. But then how did this chariot come?
Rakhi,
And
you are
then,
talking about.
no, one more in Sinoli.
Sinoli, yes. Exactly.
Sinoli. And then Professor B.B. Lal has been doing excavations, has been doing underwater excavations in Dwarka.
Hmm.
So it corroborates the theory that there was Dwarka which sunk into the ocean. And even Prime Minister had gone recently scuba diving.
Yes.
So he wanted a focus to be on that. So there are many things which are there, which unfortunately do not fit the kind of standards that scientists and historians have set.
Hmm.
So they are not ready to broaden their standards. They say it should be exactly like this. If it is that, we will call it history. We will call it science. X, we will just dismiss it. We will say this is all lies. So that is what has happened. And another thing, unfortunately, the timeline. Uh, People are not agreeing to the timeline. There are many versions.
Yes.
So we don't have a standard for that. There are some who says Mahabharata happened in 3000 BC. Others says 5000 BC.
Hmm.
Some others say it was 1000 BC.
Hmm.
So we don't have a standard, and even amongst us, the people who are doing research, there has been no one uniform learning from it. So that has been an obstacle because when we fight among ourselves, our opponents take advantage. They say, see, they don't know anything. It's all a lie. It never happened.
So, as per you, what should be the Mahabharata dating?
No, that is very difficult. So I don't want to get into this because we do not have concrete evidence. So of all the researchers, the one I respect the most is the late Dr. Vivek Redroy.
Okay.
So he says it might have occurred between 1500 to 2500 BC.
Okay.
So probably I would like to go with him, but I have not done. Like I said, there is a fierce fight. For example, there is a researcher called as Nilesh Nilakant. So he's been doing a lot of work on this. So he says Ramayana took place in 12,000 BC.
Yes.
So now his opponents say that that was the period of the Ice Age.
Hmm.
How did Ramayana happen? So he says, why do you put this logic here? Ice Age might have been there in other continents. Asia, there was no Ice Age. So they were ruling. But then they are not ready to believe him. So like that, there are so many differences of opinion over the timeline, which has unfortunately become a very controversial topic.
So timeline is still a major issue and conflict. I mean, nobody can say
Yeah.
whether we should follow Nilesh Neelkanthokji
Yeah.
or someone else or Yuval Noah
Yeah.
Harari. Everybody has their own version. But what do you? I mean, let's say not talk about exact timeline. But what do you think about Ramayana and Mahabharata? Does Ramayana happened in Treta and Mahabharata happened in Dwapar, and does these eras spans 4 lakh or 8 lakh years? Is that possible somehow, some way?
See, again, we go by the standards set by scientists and historians of today.
Hmm.
So they say that this is the timeline. So anything which it goes against that, they say just dismiss it.
Yes.
So whereas our scriptures say something else.
Hmm.
So my point is, why should we not believe that?
Hmm.
Why do we just say that it is not possible? Because if we look at what science says, what history today says, because they have come out with their science books and history books, keeping one standard in mind.
Hmm.
Now this is completely different, so it doesn't fall into this standard. So scientists and historians should try to see, is it really possible? Is it possible that the world could have been there so many thousands of years ago? But unfortunately, they are not ready to open their mind and learn. So that is why they are just dismissing this. They are not ready to listen. So if all this was written, there must be some element of truth. For example, if we look at Mahabharata,
Hmm.
some people say it is just a story.
Hmm.
Vyasa one day got up and said that, okay,
Mythology.
let me write
It's
one
simple
story.
word. It's
Yeah,
mythology.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a story.
Yes.
Now, if it was a story, why would there be so much complexities to it?
Hmm.
How could one man create such a complex story
Exactly.
and a story which ends in a tragedy,
Which is not
right? Because
possible even today. Nobody has
yeah,
written such an extensive document like Ramayana and Mahabharata. No one has
there are
created.
so many sub stories, so many things, and it is all logically connected.
Yes,
The stories of the ancestors from Yayati, then Dushyanta, Nala, all these stories come into the picture to say that one man just imagined all those things and wrote all that.
exactly.
It is very really difficult to believe. So, like I said, it is very unfortunate that our historians and our scientists, they are not ready to open their mind and try to think. Is could it be true? Let's look at this. They just blindly dismiss it, saying that this is all fake. This cannot be true. So that is where fortunately we have many historians like we have Vikram Sampath, who's been doing a lot of work and trying to present history in a correct way. Even Nilesh Shok, even though there is controversy about him, he's also doing his work to try and promote that yes, our Itihasa did occur. It is possible that it occurred.
Last discussion on this same, because Mahabharat very well, and Mahabharat is, if somebody has read it, so vast as you have said. I mean, this discussion can never end. But one last character which I am also intrigued, because I have read about him a lot, is Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama is one character which, I mean, I think has been misused, I would say, a lot. He is still living and he is with wounds. Many people have seen him. Even Aaj Tak has done a video to find out ki Ashwatthama is still coming to a temple. Is this really possible? Or what is your view towards this?
Yeah, so it all happens because of the curse that Krishna gives.
Hmm.
So when Ashwatthama tries to use the Brahmashira Astra, Arjuna also gets ready to release the Brahmashira.
Hmm.
Then Vyasa comes and stops them. He says, "What are you people doing? If you release these two Brahmashiras, they are going to destroy the world. So stop it, he says. Now Arjuna has complete control. So he withdraws his weapon. But Ashwatthama doesn't know how to withdraw.
Yes.
See, Ashwatthama learned everything from his father.
Hmm.
Whereas Arjuna got it from the gods. He went and pleased Shiva and got everything from him, and he knew how to apply the knowledge.
That's
Ashwatthama did not know.
yes, that's very big difference you have mentioned. I think nobody has
Yes.
mentioned this, the way of studies of Arjun and Ashwatthama. Very well said.
Yeah. So Ashwatthama did not know how to withdraw the weapon. So then he says that I have to punish the Pandavas for what they did to my father.
Hmm.
See, Ashwatthama was a good warrior. He fought for his side because his father was there. But he was not essentially evil. He did not have evil inside him. But when his father was killed in that way, when Yudhishthira told a lie, of course Yudhishthira did not lie. He told, he just twisted the story that Ashwatthama was dead, and then he silently says an elephant. So when that happened, Ashwatthama lost his composure. From then on, he wanted revenge against the Pandavas. So that's when he decides he will go and kill all of them when they are sleeping. And all these things happen. So now he decides that the Pandavas must be completely destroyed. So he cannot withdraw the Brahmashira. So Vyasa says, change the target. So he says, I'm going to target the wombs of the Pandava women. Let the Brahmashira go and attack the wombs of all the Pandava women. Let their wombs get destroyed
Hmm.
so that they cannot have children. So the Pandava race will end. So that was what punishment he had in mind. So that what happens. All the queens, whoever survived, their wombs get destroyed, so they cannot have children. And unfortunately, Uttara, Abhimanyu's wife, there is a child in her womb, so the child also dies.
Hmm.
That's when Krishna gets angry.
Yeah.
He says, I will ensure that you go wrong. I will bring that child back to life. And he curses Ashwatthama. He says that for 5,000 years, suffer and in sin, in suffering with, wounds, and no one offering you water and food. So the timeline he says is 5,000 years.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that 5,000 years is over actually.
Okay.
So Ashwatthama is gone somewhere. Where he's gone, we don't know. Now he's supposed to be a Chiranjeevi. So we have all these Chiranjeevis,
Hmm.
Krupa, Ashwatthama, Bali, and Parshurama, and all that.
Yes, ji.
So where they are there, we don't know. They are in some other world. Now, we have studies being done on quantum theory that shows that we could have parallel universe. So where we are sitting and talking, there could be another universe here, right here. For example, there is a lot of discussion about ghosts, what happens after death, and all that. So people could be moving to another parallel universe. So someone dead could be right here sitting next to me, but he is not in this universe. He is in another universe which is parallel to this. So we do not see.
Hmm.
There are some ways for these two universities to connect. So that is what quantum theory says. So science is actually saying that there could be multiple universe. So multiverse, so many films have been done on that. So it is a probability that these people could have gone to that universe and we cannot see them. But of course, our people like these kind of stories. That's why all the stories of Ashwatthama came up, that he was bleeding, he had a wound in his head where the gem was taken out.
Hmm.
And he was bleeding, and he would walk around, people would see him, and even now they say they see him. Some people say that the yeti which they say is actually Ashwatthama. So all kind of stories have been made. So he's a very interesting character. I think there are a lot of films being planned about Ashwatthama also.
Yes, definitely.
So let's see what they project about him.
Very good to know lot of things about Mahabharat from you, Deepak ji, and I think we are coming close to our interview. We are short of time. It's if it would be in my hand, we could have discussed even more for 1 more hour. But we all are bound for time. Very much thank you for explaining all these things, and I think the younger generation would learn a lot about Mahabharata. They understand the logics and science behind it, and they would believe that this is not mythology, this is a real history which really happened. And somehow we have lost the technology, we have lost that knowledge that can be revived sometime. So very very thank you, Deepak ji. So, for the last part of our interview, I would like to ask you some quick questions. I think you have must have responded them earlier. So,
Sure.
these are very quick questions. So, how many Hindu scriptures have you read so far? Estimated.
So I've read the Ramayana and Mahabharata, and I've read many of the Puranas. So I don't have a count, but wherever required, like for example, I want to get some additional information, I go to that Purana. It could be Brahmanda Purana, it could be Vishnu Purana, Bhagavat Purana. I go there and study that particular part.
Okay. So there is no limit.
So Ramayana and Mahabharata, yes, completely I have read. The other Puranas, as and when required.
So, which characters from the our history has inspired you most?
If we look at our Itihasa, the Ramayana and Mahabharata, my favorite character is Arjuna,
Okay.
because he's the perfect character who has all the weaknesses of humans, and he fights and shows that he's a real hero, a warrior. So he's one of my favorite
So I
characters.
think my next question would I think everybody would know the answer. Ki which scripture do you revisit or read regularly?
Yeah, yeah. So it is a Mahabharata, of course,
Yes.
because like I said, every time we read something new, we can learn. So that's why I keep revisiting it, because on websites like Quora there are so many questions asked. So to answer those questions, I go back to get references, and I find something new that I missed out last time. So that's how it is.
How many pilgrimages or major temples you have visited?
Most of the places in South India, I have not gone much to North India.
Okay.
So most of the places in South India, like Rameshwaram, Madurai, and Karnataka, most of the places. Sringeri is one of my favorite temples that I
That was also my one of the question, which is your favorite
yeah.
temple, and your next plan to visit your next pilgrimage, which you.
Yeah, I want to visit, of course, Ayodhya.
Okay,
So that is there in my list.
definitely. Okay, so we come for the last leg of this interview. Would you like to give any kind of message to our fellow Hindus across the world and young people?
Yeah, so the message is that Dharma is something which is relevant today. So if you practice Dharma, then Dharma will protect you. That is what our past has told. And it is evident today. We can see the Dharma and Karma having action. Those who commit evil deeds, they will get their punishment in due course. It may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow, but one day definitely it will happen. Many people who do evil deeds, they are getting punished, but we don't know.
Hmm.
They have hundreds of problems and they are suffering. They present as though they are great, but we know what all has could be happening to them. Similarly, those who do good deeds, they will definitely get rewarded in one way or the other. So as Hindus, we believe in Dharma. So we must follow our Dharma. We must try and help people. We must try and do good things and learn from our epics. So our epics tell us that those who commit evil deeds, they ultimately get punished. Those who insult women, those who commit atrocities, they're all going to get punished. They're all going to get destroyed. So we should learn from that and try to uh, follow dharma, implement it in our lives. And our scriptures, they have lessons which are relevant today. They're not just stories. They're all lessons that we should follow even today. And following these lessons will allow us to lead a happy life. So we can lead a life of contentment, which is important in today's world, because there's so much of stress everywhere.
Yes.
So it is not just about making money, building a big bungalow, or going in a luxury car. It is having inner satisfaction. So to achieve that, our dharmic scriptures will tell us how to do that, how to be happy in life. So I believe that is something which we must focus on. So that is my message.
Thank you. Deepak ji, many thanks for coming to this podcast and sharing your thoughts, your way of life. Your story reminds us that Dharma is not something we preach, it's something we live in our homes, in society, and for Bharat. So, we hope today's episode inspired our Bhakts. If it did, please like, share, follow, and subscribe. We will return with another real story of a real Bhakt. Till then, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Deepak ji, for coming. And
Thank you, Himanshu ji, and thank you so much for inviting me.
yeah,
Namaste.
thank
Jai Shri Ram.
you. Jai Shri Ram.